In a few moments, our keynote speaker, Mr. Kevin Boehm, will address you. Mr. Boehm co-founded the Boka Restaurant Group, a Chicago-based hospitality group that owns and operates more than 16 restaurants. No matter your field, he embodies the truth that while life brings obstacles and setbacks, we can learn how to turn them into opportunities. Let me welcome Mr. Kevin Boehm to share his story.
Thank you, President Luceau, members of the faculty and administration, parents, friends, honored guests, my lovely wife, Courtney, and my daughters, Lola and Sophia, and most especially graduates. I am so honored and thrilled to be addressing you on the day of your graduation from Kendall College. My sincere congratulations to all of you. A few weeks ago, I sat with a recent culinary school graduate at our offices. I was amazed at the stark contrast between his intellectual base of food and hospitality and what a complete moron I was when I began my professional journey. He was well-versed in food and wine. He had worked at a world-class restaurant each of his summers. He was driven and specific about what goals he wanted to achieve. The only thing the 20-year-old me might have had on him was my blissful ignorance, which can be quite powerful at times, and my hell-bent determination. I remember pulling out of the parking lot the day I dropped out of college some 26 years ago on my way from Champaign, Illinois to the Panhandle of Florida. As I was turning out of the lot, my friend Mike Shannon ran up to my car. Mike has told this story many times since, and I usually hear some version of it when he dines at my restaurants. He was passionately trying to convince me that leaving school this late in the game for the pipe dream of opening up a restaurant was not only a bad idea, but one that could derail my life. He says I dramatically lowered my sunglasses and quoted Shaw. "Mike, the reasonable man adapts himself to the world. The unreasonable one persists in trying to adapt the world to himself. Therefore, all progress depends on the unreasonable man. I am that unreasonable man." I then threw my Jeep into gear, squealed my tires for effect, and sped off. I like that story so much because it makes me sound like such a badass. The only problem is I'm pretty sure it never happened. Mike's a bit of an embellisher. I saw him that day. He did passionately try to talk me out of it, but although I don't remember the dialogue, I do remember my emotions, and they were anything but brimming with confidence. I'm guessing my mindset was something to the effect of, this is probably not going to work, but I've got nothing to lose, and I'm not going to fail for a lack of trying. I knew that the rest of my so-called undergraduate work would be found in the dining rooms and kitchens of restaurants. My graduation, or so I thought, would be a restaurant of my own. So the 16-hour drive to Florida in my beat-up Jeep was a success, but things took a really bad turn after that. My first year down south was a series of failures, setbacks, and some just plain bad luck. The restaurants I wanted to work at wouldn't hire me. I ran out of money at one point, found myself homeless and had to sleep on the beach. A bobcat, who someone was illegally keeping as a pet, snuck out of their house, snuck into mine, and attacked me. I'm serious. A bobcat attacked me. It's not a joke. It really happened. It's very scary. I was asking the universe if I could open up my own restaurant, and at this point, I was pretty sure the universe was telling me no. It was only when I got a job at a respectable place that I began to feel like I made the right decision. I loved it instantly. The rhythmic sounds of a kitchen prepping, the nervous excitement before a really busy night, the wisdom and motivation of a well-executed pre-shift, getting yourself in the weeds, systematically working yourself out of them, discussing food and wine with guests, the physicality of the work, the camaraderie and competitive nature of a great crew. I was dazzled by all of it. And I decided I was no longer asking the universe if I could open up my own restaurant. I was going to tell the universe I was. After working nonstop for a few years, I scraped enough money together with my girlfriend to open the world's most modest restaurant, a 6-table joint called the Lazy Days Cafe. It was not a great economic model or a great restaurant, but we figured what we lacked in fancy furniture in China, we would make up for with hospitality and some simple good food. Our third day of being open, I reached down to put a piece of bread in the oven. The pilot light had gone out. The oven blew up in my face and caught my hair on fire. Now, admittedly, I've been a bit of a narcissist with my hair my entire life. You can't see it with this cap on, but it's a pretty good head of hair. I can handle being homeless and attacked by a bob cap of my hair, really. It was officially the worst shift I ever worked. I spent one night in the hospital, but came back to work the next day, face scabbed, hair shaved, ego bruised, but too broke not to go right back at it. The first year I survived torch terror, a relationship hanging on by a thread, a hurricane, a record cold winter, and a tough landlord. By the time we got bought out some 2 years later, I had learned a million lessons. I would open up 2 more restaurants in the 90s, and they were both very successful. I had begun to figure things out, and in both cases received generous offers to buy the places. 2 sales and 2 non-compete clauses later, I felt pretty good. This is not that hard. I'm a genius. The most important part of this story that I'm telling you today is what happened next. For years, I like to skip past this part of my life. But honestly, nothing has shaped my life, my career, or the fabric of my being more than failing. My belief that I had graduated, that I had figured out the restaurant riddle, led me to many moments where I was not capable of making the right decision. I made the wrong deal with the wrong people at the wrong time, and I wasn't smart enough yet to overcome those obstacles. I was a different man on the other side of failure. After the initial shock wore off, I had a renewed sense of educating myself, of rediscovering my middle-class sensibility, and of piecing together all the reasons it didn't work. As it turns out, failure is like a bad criminal. If you're willing to look closely, it leaves you all the clues to success. Sometimes success, especially early success, makes us forget about perhaps the most important tool of the accomplished, the ability to be self-critical. Analyzing ourselves isn't always pretty, but it's super effective. My hope for all of you is that your fear of failure never limits your ability to take a risk. Now is the time of your life where you should be taking chances and throwing caution to the wind. Failure can, in fact, be the pathway to success. And if you ask most successful people about their lives, there was some aspect of a broken road that led them to it. My broken road led me to my wife, Courtney, and my business partner, Rob Katz. Surrounding yourself by a team of people who you love and respect is so powerful in business and even more essential in life. Ego often propels us to try to tackle things on our own, but if you surround yourself by amazing people, and if you're around them long enough, you might just catch some of their genius. I moved to Chicago in late 2001, and Rob Katz and myself opened a little restaurant called Boka, a restaurant that still thrives today. In the early days, we sat across the bar from each other after close each night and sketched out a dream called Boka Restaurant Group. That sketch, over many glasses of wine, maybe a couple tequila shots, evolved into what we have today: 15 restaurants, 1,800 employees. So the question is, how did 2 knuckleheads like Rob and I grow this one little restaurant to the group it is today? Honestly, there's no simple answer. It's the alchemy of many things and many people, but I do know none of it would have been possible without there being love and passion behind all the work and decision-making. To quote Jim Carrey, so many of us choose our path out of fear disguised as practicality. You could fail at what you don't want, so you might as well take a chance on doing what you love. And remember, just because you don't love working for one company or one person or one aspect doesn't mean the entire thing is a throwaway. Just because the job's testing you, frustrating you, or even breaking you does not mean these things should not be part of your path. One of those things that you learn by the time you're my age is that anything worth having has an earning process. If you want to see the view, you got to climb the mountain. If you're going to be successful in life, you're going to have to bust your ass, period. One of our chef partners is Stephanie Izard. She's the only chef to win Top Chef, Iron Chef, a James Beard Award, and Food & Wine's Best New Chefs. If you want to clinch a glimpse of how someone achieves such lofty things, go hang out at the corner of Halstead and Randolph one day for several hours. I guarantee you'll get just tired watching her. From the wee hours of the morning, she bounces from Girl and the Goat to Little Goat to Duck, Duck, Goat to being a mom to her son, Ernie. I'm going to let you know a little secret. Restaurant people, food people, hospitality people, and early childhood educators are the greatest people on the planet. The best ones are smart, charming, generous, emotional, listen more than they speak, accountable, risk takers, and a little bit weird. Who else but us weirdos could love the madness that happens every single night? On any given night, a guest pulls up to a restaurant. The valet comes out, in a perfect world, gives them a ticket, and they walk inside. They tell the host their reservation name. The day before, the reservationist had properly put that into the open table system. The server assistant pours water without a drop of it hitting the table. Plates and silver were polished and washed perfectly by the dishwashers. The server's eloquent. The food comes out hot food hot, cold food cold, and it's cooked with precision by each of the cooks who had a hand in every component. Desserts were prepped and executed perfectly by the pastry team. Bathrooms are clean when guests go to wash their hands. Check is dropped and financial transaction goes off without a hitch. The host tells them good night on the way out. It then takes 30 minutes for the valet to bring the car, and the whole frickin' night's ruined. That sucks, right? It drives me nuts. There might have been 50 people involved in making sure everything was right, and one person to destroy it. This is the madness, but it's also what makes it interesting. There's a lot of beauty in the pursuit of perfection and some humor. I posted a picture on Instagram recently. It was a picture of myself sitting on the stairs of one of my restaurants crying. I'd like to say that picture was from 2003. It was a couple years ago. The pursuit is worth it, though. The truth is, most humans, I know this is true for me, are not captivated by games that we can instantly master. We like the ones where there's gradual improvement, but true perfection's always a bit elusive. This is why I'm never bored, and for my money, boredom is the lowest depth of misery. I've opened 21 restaurants over the last 24 years, and with each one, I learn a little bit more about myself. Sometimes good things, sometimes not. If I really want to see the best of myself, I don't have to look far, as my 4 favorite human beings on the planet just happen to live in my house. My 3 kids, who are all very different from each other, luckily took my good qualities and seem to have avoided my worst. Sophia, strong, smart, willful. Lola, funny and compassionate. And Luca, is that Luca? Luca, at just 3 years old, already the life of the party. My daughter Lola turned 9 yesterday. 5 years ago, I had one of the worst days professionally I've ever had. I went home early, and searching for a place of solitude, I climbed up and laid on my daughter's top bunk. Moments later, Lola found me and asked me what was wrong. I told her that I'd had an argument with someone at work. Lola, turning very parental, asked me, "Daddy, did you talk to your friends about it?" The next day, my phone rang around 3 p.m., and it was Lola, who'd obviously been thinking about it all day. "Are you better, Daddy? Did you talk to Robbie about it?" They are my team, and building a team around you, whether it be friends, family, classmates, will make the great days epic and the bad ones manageable. In the back of every issue of Vanity Fair, someone notable fills out the Proust questionnaire. A list of questions include: what historical figure do you most identify with? What is your life's motto? And what is your favorite journey? I filled one out 25 years ago and recently found it when we were in the process of moving. The question: when and where were you happiest? My answer: heading due south, scared shitless but excited, 15 miles above the speed limit, driving towards my dream. My hope for all of you is you will go out and immediately do a lot of things that scare the shit out of you. It's those things you'll find the most joy out of, the most redemption, and a sense of accomplishment that's impossible to manufacture without testing your will. Perhaps you'll want to test that will with Boka Restaurant Group. I do want to make it clear that today's speech is not just a commencement speech, but also a recruiting one. And I will be accepting resumes right after this. Now, one girl on the top of her cap, when she was walking in, said, "Don't be afraid of taking a whisk." Who was that girl? Raise your... Where's she at? I want to... Yeah, I want to meet that girl later. Give me a resume later. 2 years ago, my partner and I watched the live stream of the announcement of the James Beard nominations. When they announced our names for finalists for Best Restaurateurs in America, I had one thought. This is a hell of a long way from having your hair on fire at a six-table restaurant in the Florida Panhandle. I hope your journey has as many winding twists as mine. I hope you'll work hard, be a good friend, be a good teammate, respect yourself, be an active listener, keep learning, trust your instincts, think in more than 140 characters, be kind to everyone, don't ever truly grow up. Grown-ups suck. Be curious, find balance in your lives. Don't let fear of failure stop you from making any decision. Be what you dream and live a great story. In my final piece of advice, I want all of you to drink aggressively tonight. You deserve it. Call an Uber, though. No driving. No driving. You are the architects of your lives. Design something beautiful. Congratulations. Thank you for having me today.